Agent of Doubt here, world's worst SJW. And those of you who have watched my videos for, more than a decade know that in the years that I've picked up that catchphrase, I meant it as a double entendre, and I'll explain it again now. First of all, I mean to scare off people who think that social justice is a bad thing by telling people that I actually believe in social justice and I'm willing to wear it as a badge. So, ooh, scary. I'm the worst of them. Arr. But also, the other side of that double entendre is that many times when I say that I am an SJW and I talk about issues of social justice, someone else will come along and say, oh, but actually, you're not doing it right. You should be even more social justice-y, and let me tell you how you are not being social justice-y enough. And so it left me saying, wow, I'm often saying social justice is a great thing. People know me for that, but I keep on getting told that I am the worst social justice warrior because, I'm always doing it wrong. So, yeah. That in mind, trigger warnings. First, just because it's always on my mind, I might talk about world events like conflicts and stuff. So if you're worn out by that right now, then click away. Worker rights, compensation of workers, fair compensation, and just the strife of workers around the world. If that's a topic that triggers you right now because you're being underpaid or undervalued at your job, and that the economy is bad and you can't afford something because prices went up, if all of that hurts you right now, click away. Trigger warning on that. And also, if you don't like white guys crying on the internet because somebody came along and responded to something that they said and they got their fifis hurt, and you're a person who doesn't like to see white guy tears, then click away, because I'm pretty sure you're the kind of person that could characterize this as white guy crying on the internet because he got his fifis hurt. So, and if you're the kind of person who likes that kind of stuff, like you have a coffee mug that says white male tears, then go ahead, stick around. I got some tears for you, okay? So, let's just jump into it. First thing I want to say is, to my recollection, this is the first interaction I've had with this person. Could be the last, right? Right now, I don't feel like having any more interactions with this person, but I felt it important to say that I was just minding my own business and vented that I had this opinion, and this person came along, hit me with something else. So, I'm going to summarize what happened, but I'm going to put it on the screen because it would be ironic if I removed the context of everything that was said from this reaction video because of something that happened a little bit later than this thread. But I will summarize by saying I saw in real life a sign for the wages of what it would take to work at a certain fast food restaurant, Panda Express, both for line workers and for the manager. And I took a picture of it, and I vented my frustration that in many jobs that are in my field, the ones that I had coming up in my field, we are required to have degrees and certifications and licensures in order to work in our field, but the cost of all that is not being respected because we're getting paid less than it takes to work at Panda Express. Now, those of you who've been watching my channel for a while know that my specific field in behavioral health is substance abuse counseling, right? And generally I was talking about all behavioral health workers, because I know plenty of people who are like nurses and adjacent professions, the administrators and all that also work in substance use fields, and they're still not getting paid as much as these Panda Express workers. And I feel like those people are valuable to me, and so I'm advocating for them to be paid more by this post that I made, right? And then along comes Tracy, and she decides to leave a comment saying that I'm wrong for thinking that I deserve to be paid better than some other workers in this world, because everybody deserves to have equal pay, regardless of the training and schooling and costs associated to them in order to get their job. Everyone deserves to get the same pay if we were to be living in the ideal world that has no classism in it whatsoever. And I and some others had some thoughts about that. Most notably, I said that in one of these comments in the thread that when I'm trying to advocate for my coworkers to be paid the prevailing minimum wage, which they're not, and get paid just as the same as fast food workers, and you come along and say that actually everyone deserves the same wage, it's the same as when someone is saying Black Lives Matter and you respond with All Lives Matter, because you're diluting the original point that we're pointing out a disparity that needs to be addressed, and you're just saying, oh well, everyone deserves equal treatment in a fair world, right? And so it came off as cringy to me. And so at a certain point, Tracy decided to say, okay, well, I'll stop, on that thread. And then she went ahead and posted on her own page, which I was a friend of hers at the time, and I saw it, and she basically, without the larger context, said that I was classist, that I was no better than the racism that she says that I'm no better than. Y'all can read the post for yourselves. I'm not going to put words in her mouth, right? I put it on the screen right here, right? Read it yourself. I'm not going to even voice my side and her side. I'll let you read it the way it was written for the most accurate context. Because after seeing her vague book about me with the context removed, context matters a lot to me right now. So if you're just listening to this while playing World of Warcraft, like some of my YouTube subscribers do, I'm sorry, this is one where you're actually going to have to, play then pause, because I put the whole thread on the video, right? And you'd have to just play pause in order to read the whole thing. But if you're a Facebook friend of mine or one of the more than 300 people that were mutuals between us, then you can just watch what was written on the original post, because it's still up from a couple days ago. Anyways, I said what I said. The points I made are there. And I want to say what I've been thinking the past few days after that thread, right? So, beyond that, I'm going to say I grew up around a lot of prejudice, and some of the worst kinds, right? I had cousins that would look at certain professionals that were of a different color and say, hey, look at that N-word doctor, that N-word cop, that N-word plumber. They would preface whatever their profession was with the N-word in order to, take away from the fact that they had earned that profession, that they were skilled, that they had gone to school for a long time. Like, look at that N-word teacher. These were some bad folks that I grew up around, and I do consider myself better than them that I don't do that. Even though, if you read all that was said in that thread, you might have come away with Tracy thinking that nobody's better than anyone else and you shouldn't make value judgments. But if you're throwing around the N-word a lot, I consider myself better than you. Just saying, right? And I consider myself better than that from a very young age, actually. I remember thinking that it's a ridiculous thing that people do to say that you can take away all of someone's achievements by just pointing out the color of their skin, right? I figured that out as a kid. I expect anyone else with a little bit more intellect than other people, like I think Tracy has shown by her vocabulary, right? I expect people to understand that concept. But for Tracy, apparently it only applies one way, because she'll go ahead and stylize the word white, like, my cousins might use the N-word, and use it to say that because you're white, your achievements mean less. Go ahead and read the thread, right? That's why I left the context there, right? I'm just gonna say that you should call people the things that they would like to be identified as, regardless of whether you have predetermined with your prejudice that they are the oppressive ruling class or anything. You should always comport yourself as though people have humanity that should be respected, and you should address them the way that they want to be addressed. And inventing different stylized ways to say that white people are ridiculous and their ridiculous systems don't matter, and we all live in this world of oppression due to white people. If all that is contained within the weird words that you're making to say white, then maybe you didn't learn the whole lesson from the original thing that we all learned as kids. Don't use racial epithets. They're all bad. They're all bad. Beyond that simple thing, I want to add a way deeper concept that I've been thinking about, because by Tracy's appearances on the Atheist Experience, I remember that she deconverted, and she came from the Church of Christ, which was a really hardcore experience for a kid to have, right? And I came from a similar experience. Not the same church. I was in the Assembly of God church growing up. Long Beach, California. Glad tidings, anybody? My deconversion from that had me remembering that while I was in that horrible evangelical church, I always felt like whenever I tried to excel at things, I would be undermined by someone saying, every man has sinned. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. All sorts of things that would make anything special about you just evened out. Like, we're all on a level playing field here, right? God sees us all equally, right? And as much as that works to uplift some people into feeling like, they're on an equal playing field even though they've experienced some disadvantage, it also gets used as a bludgeon against people who excel to humble them down to the level of everybody else. And I learned that is a bad thing, getting out of a system like that. And what I see in this conversation that was had back and forth with Tracy is that she didn't really learn the same thing that I did about how bad that is. She just kind of removed the magic and the spirituality from the same concept. And so I want to say that people can become a better version of themselves, right? If I didn't believe this, I would not be a therapist. I would quit tomorrow if I didn't think people could change, right? People can become better than they were yesterday. They can aspire to achieve things, and those things have value, and that betterment of yourself has value. That education that you get has value, and that value doesn't have to be expressed in dollar signs and in a way that makes some people get paid less than others, but it often does get expressed that way in the system we're in, right? Is it classist to see where you are at individually and then say, I think I'd like to be a little bit better than what I've been, and then maybe see some rewards in life for bettering myself? Tracy might say yes, but she still likes to adhere to systems that will take great achievement and undermine it to the point where it's only valued the same as everybody else is valued. Even slackers, even people who feel disaffected by the system and don't want to participate. People who work to better themselves and get education, training, experience, all that. To her, they're the same. They should be valued the same. Maybe even not just with money in her mind. Maybe she thinks you just can't compare humanity versus humanity, so everyone has to be equal in her mind. But I have a different opinion born of my experience, and part of that is, for lack of a better term, I have met the devil, right? I work in clinical mental health, right? I know those people who would work to undermine any system and just want to see the whole world burn. I've met that person, and I feel better than them. I've met the people who, even by no fault of their own, have become so disaffected that they don't want to participate in the world because the system's rigged, right? I feel like the people who still strive to do something to better their experience on this planet are doing better than the people who decide, fuck it, I'm just going to sit here and wait for good things to happen to me. Doesn't always pan out for the people who work hard. I know that from experience. But I'm making a value judgment here. The people that try are better than the people who don't. Tracy doesn't seem to think so. So I feel like as a result of that conversation, I can say that Tracy was undermining my efforts to advocate for fair pay and the value of my field. She assumed a lot about me, like that I'm an ableist person. It's really weird. Like it just falls right off of me when she says that, because here I am, a 100% disabled Army vet that turned around and created a practice that half of my caseload is other disabled vets. And in getting to this spot in my life, I've worked at various organizations such that, like, if I went downtown to the biggest shelter downtown, I'd get a high five from at least a dozen guys that I have helped out, because I help people who hit ground zero of rock bottom all the time. I help them pick themselves back up. It's what I did as an addiction counselor for years. And just like in my memory from the last year, I can remember writing a letter to someone's sheikh so that they could get out of an arranged marriage that was abusive. I can remember writing a letter so that someone can get bottom surgery, and getting trained to be able to assess people for that, so that I can help more people have access to that. Like, there's so many things that I have done and achieved that tell me, like, ableist is not really something that fits well on my chest. It kind of falls off. It's like, wow, ableist. Anyways, she assumed a lot about me. She discredited my accomplishments, not just by not valuing the differentiation of people, but also just by pointing out my race and gender. And then, after telling me that she was done with the conversation in my thread, she went and vague booked about me, minus all the context of the original conversation, in a very cowardly way, which removed all the context that would have told people was actually being said, just to aggrandize herself and the positions that she holds. So, all that put together, right? You don't have to have the education or certifications that I have in behavioral health to know that that's not the kind of stuff that friends do. And so I decided to unfriend her on Facebook. This analogy is not a direct parallel, but it's been in my head, okay? When I go to a heavy metal concert, and I'm a pretty big guy, I go to that mosh pit thinking, I'm going to do fairly well in this mosh pit because I'm a big guy, you know. There's usually somebody bigger in that mosh pit that I run into after a couple minutes. And sometimes they're in the very center of that mosh pit. But there's usually somebody bigger. I decide to be a part of the fun, join the mosh pit, get slung around, go through that sort of physical gauntlet of being shoulder tackled by everybody, just having fun, slamming against people. But usually I run into that much larger than me person. And it lets me know that I'm not as big for that purpose as maybe I thought I was. Just, you know, myself, you know, in my own thoughts, driving to the concert and thinking about how this is going to go. And in this case, I feel like there I was advocating from a very lefty perspective that people in my field deserve more pay. And then a bigger lefty than me came along and saw the little party I was having and decided to show me that they were even more lefty than I am. And I got out-leftied. Which brings us to how I started this video. Goodbye, everybody. This has been Agent of Doubt, the world's worst SJW.